Well, folks, technical errors or glitches that are going on. All I can say is I apologize. I have no idea what's going on. But we are back online. What found you those elephants? But anyway, we're going to keep heading in this direction. They seem to have crossed and going sort of west. But that same sort of direction, we're going to go check to see if the rest of the Nkuhumas have come in. Apparently those three this morning, I'm hearing in the radio, were Nkuhumas. Austin and Dave aren't 100% sure. We'll have to see for ourselves. But we will have a look, see if the rest of the pride has come in. If it the tracks of those three have come along this road. So by the direction that Tristan has told me that the rest of the pride has come, possible that they are following these three. So that's my assumption, because the tracks are on the ground heading in this direction. So that is from we were doing some running around quarantine this morning, and we could actually see where the lions had been moving and hunting the zebra running, the track road running, lion tracks moving all over the place. And Tristan suggested that they actually followed zebra all the way down to where you guys eventually saw them. Very, very interesting. We just saw a couple of a very sheepish looking zebra and that's because chased by lions, not a very happy animal. Hello Jennifer, I have no idea. I haven't heard any reports cab whether Hosanna caught anything. I haven't been watching all day. I did have a little glimpse earlier. I didn't see him around there. I think James follow up on him. There's been no call of him. No call. But the tracks will keep going this way. I'm sure he'll make do. He'll move in some area. Maybe he's hiding somewhere in the thickets over there. We need to go there with the thermal camera to find him, because he can be so invisible in those areas. Sorry, I lost a bit of thought there. James was talking in the most crazy accent. Caught me off guard. We're going to keep going where hopefully we will see where the Nkuhumas come through. So James is clearly interested in something and has got something quite exciting to show you. I already heard. Have a look.
James has something really exciting to show you.
This is quite very interesting. I'm using a turn of phrase there that Sydney uses. Quite very interesting. There is quite a very interesting thing over here. We have a track. One who gets off the car to show you tracks, unless they are really quite unbelievable. I'd like you to guess what that is once I've got it out of the way. It's going towards you. Can you see it there, Ferg? You can have a guess at what it is, and I guarantee you, you'll be surprised. #SafariLive chat on Twitter. It's got two toes. Well, two visible toes in the track. Quite large. I'll put my hand next to it there. There you go. There's a big nail. And there's another one over here. There were two of these creatures walking down this. And I initially didn't stop because I thought, no, that can't be right. Any guesses so far, Fergus? Nothing so far, hey? Something about baby animals? No, not baby animals. Definitely not baby animals. Adults.
Jake thinks rhino.
Jake, no, it is not a rhino. Anyone else? It's got two toes. Gina, very large monitor. Negative. No, no. Monitor's got lots of toes. 5 of them. Lorena, no. Aardvark's got very obvious 3 claws you can see in the track. It's about quarter that size. Keep going. Keep going. Come on, everybody. I'll give you a clue if you like. Abraham's on the money. It is an ostrich. It is two ostriches that have come walking down this road. It is bizarre. Looking at is the one big toe here, and then the small toe next to it. It's only 2 toes. Claw at the front. And if you were to come across an ostrich, that's what you'd have to watch out for, because when they kick forward. They would, well, if they could, they would rip your guts out if they were that, unhappy with you. They'd kick forward and hook at your guts. So there are ostriches around here. I don't imagine they stayed here for long. There are no clearings here, really, for them to be in, unless they're sitting on quarantine clearing somewhere. But we did come past there, and I didn't see it. That's really very weird. I've never seen tracks for them here. I'm so enthralled by it that I'm going to turn around and see where they go. Sorry about that, Fergus. Soccer Dash, I reckon these tracks are pretty fresh. Game drives. I mean, further than that, I wouldn't like to speculate too much, but I think they're pretty fresh. They've turned around already and they've gone back up that way. As I thought they might. Fascinating. You know what? I don't think this is 2 animals. It's 1 animal. It's one that's down round and side of the road. That's exactly what's happened. Let me just drive. See? What? I'm going this way.
Well, ostriches can do that to the technology. Gremlins, and then we get ostriches. Ostriches are related to gremlins, so sorry that you lost signal with James there. How interesting indeed, ostrich tracks on Djuma. I mean, Rexon's told me about up in the north before, but coming this far down, very interesting. Maybe we'll see one. Definitely quite fresh, as James was saying. Jackals drove that road this morning, tracking the lions. They would have seen it, definitely. It's not the kind of track that you pass up. You look at it and you go, oh. Ooh, Rosalind, ostriches can attack people. They don't necessarily invariably move away like most other animals do, but they got a very powerful frontward kick. So the idea is if an ostrich runs, attacks you, so to speak, well, clearly you've done something wrong. You need to think about what you've done, but maybe think about that later. Just lie down and cover your face. That's what you're supposed to do, so that they can't really do this proper forward kick. It's a little steenbok, Davy. There we go. Beautiful, madam. Hello, beautiful. She's saying if I stand, they won't see me. Those beautiful ears. She just... There we go. And then as soon as she's been spotted, she runs away 10 meters and then stands still again. That's called the flight strategy. Uh-oh. She's coming back, Jarvie. Why is she coming back? It's very strange. Normally they go away and then walk back again. She spotted something we haven't spotted. Anyway, monogamous, steenbok, male and female. You sometimes see them together. The other day we saw a pair trying to mate, which was quite interesting. First time. Well, it seems as if she's realized that there's no need to worry, and she's come back to what is probably her latrine. You could saw her. She realized that we're not a threat. Folks, well, we're having a whole lot of gremlins. We're going to go switch off for a little bit. We'll be back as soon as we possibly can.
A very, very good afternoon again, and I would like to apologize for the inconveniences. We are now back again in action, and I have got one of the very much interesting insects. You can see there, they are walking out trying to get something to eat. These are the ants, and ants, they are so very much clever. Look at these ones outside. Look at the head. The head looks very big. These insects, they make sure that the size of the tunnel is more or less the same size as the size of the soldiers, so that when the soldier is standing right here by the door, he can be able to block access against the intruders. But now, sometimes, if there's a crisis, you might find that some of the workers are already out looking for something to eat. So when there is a crisis, the soldier's going to stand there, and when a member of a family comes there, this is what is going to happen. They must have to touch heads. When touching heads is when the soldier is going to sniff that this is our family member. He or she belongs here, and it's then that is going to open the access for that female to come in. And they always have a safety precaution. They don't just allow anybody and everybody in.
Well, sorry folks, there are some technical issues going on this afternoon. I can't quite explain, but hopefully we will keep it a little bit smooth from here on out. Terribly sorry about that, but we have continued on. We moved off from that Steenbok who was seemingly just needing to go to the bathroom, and she found us not too much of a threat, so she came back and she did her digging, and then she buried it like a very good Steenbok does. Some people might ask, why do certain animals bury their dung? And it's to be more secretive, to kind of go under the radar of other animals. It kind of covers it over, but it also, to Steenbok, it is a bit of a signpost as well. Even though it is more secretive to Steenbok themselves, it is an indication of occupancy, because the digging that goes in reveals fresh earth that comes up, and you often find those middens right in the middle of the territory. Not really a boundary post, it's right in the middle. So the male and female probably doing it constantly, and no doubt he'll be checking to see her breeding readiness. Well, we're going to head on down here, see if we can find any tracks of the reputed Unkelhumas coming in from the west. But in the meantime, let's go up to the Mara with a buffalo.
The greatest thing about the Mara is that you only have to drive for a little bit before you find your next animal. And I bet you could all guess from the chewing and that big nose that was indeed a big buffalo bull, which we've got a couple of. Here's his friend. And they are happy living in an area called 4x4. Now, this is the spot where the marsh breakaway lions normally live, but I don't know where they are. They're not in their normal spots. So I wonder where they've gone. This logo might look familiar to some of you. We've also got an elephant. I'm going to show you so many animals. We are very, very lucky. We've got an abundance of animals around here. Now, if you did watch the beginning of this afternoon's Sunset Safari, you would have seen that we were at a little bit of a marshy area. And that's what this 4x4 area turns into too. It is a bit of a small marsh. So at this time of the year, there are a lot of animals. We see elephants like this beautiful big bull. And he's just very slowly feeding towards a breeding herd, but we'll get there at some point. You can see them just in the distance. I shall at some point turn around and we'll do a little bit of driving because it's not too far that I have to go. But these boys are so relaxed, and that's another thing. The buffalo, actually buffalo in South Africa too, are fairly relaxed. They often they don't even want to move out of the road when you're lucky enough to experience quite a large herd. The same thing happens here. And the Duggar boys, I don't know, are you just not bothered? They're enormous, not even looking at us anymore. And of course, it wouldn't be the Mara without some topi and a few other creatures. Now, Justin, just going back to the buffalo, I'm not sure how many times a buffalo chews before it swallows. I think that would depend on a few things. So I think it would depend on the size of the ball, or the cud ball, so basically all that partially digested grass. And I think that varies. I don't think it's the same shape and size all the time. You might find, that you'll get an average size eventually. But I think that would have something to do with it. Maybe how much saliva is in their mouth. If they've got a very dry mouth, it might take a bit longer to chew. So I think there's quite a few factors that you'd need to, I suppose, consider. And you would have to then count a number of different buffalo and, I suppose, get an average of them chewing. I don't think we'll do that today, however. We'll save that for another day, because I feel like they just chew and chew and chew all day long. Okay, right, everyone, are you ready to drive? Just a little bit. We're not going to go far, but I'm going to drive forward. Soccer Dash, it's difficult to guess the age of these buffalo. I mean, there's one there. We're just going to drive past it slowly. I just want to get to a better point. I don't have to go too far. So I would say they're mature buffalo, probably between, they didn't look like very old boys, maybe getting to around 20 years old or so. So, you know, not very, very old, but definitely mature. Okay, now I'm going to show you some zebra. I'm going to show you lots of animals now. There's so many here. So, sorry about that. Archie's just leveling, of course, because I've driven on uneven ground. There's a Thompson's gazelle and some topi, of course. Some zebra. Topi that wants to be a zebra. See, it's a beautiful area. And now I'm surprised that the marsh breakaway lions are not around here. You two look like you were getting up to no good, those two on the right. Let's watch them for a little bit. See how that one on the right keeps putting its ears back. I think it might be the stallion. It doesn't look too impressed. Let's see if they're going to have a little bit of a fight. So what's happening at the moment is because there's so many zebra that are around, and again, they're not necessarily all one family group. They're all competing for grazing. So it's quite nice at the moment where we actually see a lot of young stallions sort of mixing within the breeding herds. Obviously just passing through, this might be a group of youngsters here in between a breeding herd, and they play fighting with one another quite a bit. Sometimes it can be quite serious. Obviously, if the stallion of of the herd, of the breeding herd, eventually he's going to get tired of the youngsters' nonsense and chase them all away. But there's quite a few of them. See, there's another small group coming here. And you might see that 2 or 3 family groups might merge together and be quite happy with one another. But this is very cool. See, look, they're all getting quite risky. It's one of my favorite things to watch zebra play, especially when it's quite dry and you can get all the dust being kicked around. I don't know if we'll see that much here, but it can be really, really, really pretty. See, look that. Head down on the ground. They just look like they're up to no good today. Now, a great question from Rosin, and I suppose it's relevant considering we have had a few fires here in South Africa and in the Mara, and of course they're all controlled burns. So, Rosin, most of the animals will move away from the fire. They know it's dangerous. However, sometimes the smaller reptiles can't exactly make an escape. But something like a zebra, unless it somehow gets, trapped, there we go, in a fire, that can also happen, but it doesn't happen too often. The mammals are normally able to get away. Well, the bigger ones, here we go. This is a group of stallions, so some youngsters. I don't think they're all particularly, and maybe they just don't all have a herd just yet. Up to no good. Very interesting to watch this kind of behavior. See that? Look at that head bobbing. Especially when they put their heads down on the ground. Ears back. You don't want to be chopped by one of those zebras. So even though they're using their front legs at the moment and not double barreling one another, that can be exceptionally painful and can quite easily take some skin off of those zebra and cause quite a severe graze. See, look at that lot up to no good. It's like the stallion is actually trying to lead the rest of the herd away from this naughty group of animals. Anyways, we'll continue to see what's around here and look out for the marsh pride. Back to South Africa you go.
Yes, back to South Africa, back to us here, searching, finding nothing just yet. We are searching for tracks, and of course the focus of our drives for the next 3 weeks now will almost always be on our leopard characters, or our lion characters when they're around, but mainly the leopard characters, because of course it is their stories that we are telling in our TV shows. I'm sure you don't mind looking for leopards, everybody. I'm sure you quite enjoy looking for leopards. I quite enjoy looking for leopards. Can be a little frustrating because they're not very easy to find. I really get the feeling that unless they sort of choose to step out in front of you, they're very difficult. They're almost impossible to find. No, Francis, no update on the lone wild dog. I mean, the last we saw, it lost its breakfast to a crocodile the other day. That was yesterday, actually. And that was it. That's the last we've heard. I haven't seen him since then. I haven't heard of anything since then. And I'm sure he's found his friends by now. I hope that he's found his friends by now. Wait, look at that, Fergus. Can you see what I see? It is a crested francolin, if you can believe it. My heart nearly stopped. Oh. Look at that. That's the first bit of actual biology I've shown you. No, we showed you some kudu a little earlier. Very sweet little birds. They make me feel comforted. I don't know why. Probably because they're round and fat. And they look completely unharmful. But of course that is not the case. And if you look on the right leg there, you can see very clearly there's a vicious weapon, a spur, which they can use to fight with each other. And indeed, which they will use to defend themselves if you try and catch one. I haven't tried to catch one. Well, I have actually. In fact, this is quite funny. First time I ever kind of noticed a francolin was I must have been about 14 years old, I suppose, so we didn't spend a great deal of time in the bush when I was a kid. And we went off to this place in the northwest province, quite close to the Botswana border. And no, in fact, it wasn't there. I'll tell you exactly where it was. It was at Giraffe Farm, which is in the Timbavati, not too far from here. And I remember the guy we were with saying, there's a francolin's, and me saying, well, how do they survive? He said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, they're so slow and they probably can't fly. He said, I'll give you 20 rand if you can catch one. Now, this was probably in 1988, so I was, 89, so I was 12. And I couldn't believe it. 20 rand was a lot of money back then. It's probably the equivalent of about 200 rand now. And I said, no problem, I'll go and catch one. Well, I chased these things hither and yon for about 5 minutes before I realized, of course, that it was impossible for me to catch one of those francolins, because they're very quick and very appealing. Alrighty, on we go. That was a little journey into my past. A past that does not have a huge amount of bush in it. Right, I believe that Taylor is not going to try and catch the animal that she has for you. It is the same animal that she has had for you before, and now she's going to have it for you again.
Much whatsoever since you were last with us. We're still in the 4x4 area here in the Mara Triangle in Kenya with some elephants and giraffe. Basically, we're just waiting for the animals to come to us today. That's going to be our plan. And there was one little elephant. I don't know where it's gone, though. Oh, it's hiding. We'll wait for it to come out, and hopefully it comes a bit closer, because it is quite funny. And then you saw all the giraffe. That one there, that sneaky little one hiding close to Mom, is hilarious. It's not a teeny tiny tot. It's probably closer to about 2 years old. But it's trying to pull out some of that grass in the middle. And you can see the very sort of tall, dark green grass. I have no idea what kind of species of grass it is, but it's tough. And for that little elephant, it hasn't quite worked out how to pull out a sufficient amount. It pulls out one blade of grass every now and then, gets lucky. And it was trying to use its feet. Now it's eating the other stuff. Yes, that's much easier. But it spent about 5 minutes desperately trying to pull out a decent amount of grass. Oh, they've multiplied now. There's 2 little elephants. Very exciting. There was just the one. Now I don't know which was the one that was playing with the grass. We'll have to wait and see again. Minamu, yes, 100%. There are animals that roam around just outside the reserve on the roads. But out over here, there are no tarred roads. So pretty much everything is gravel roads. But there's no fences stopping them. Yes, well done. You did it, elephant. You managed to stand on 2 legs. That's like a person doing a handstand. And he's going, don't you dare do that to me again. That's embarrassing, says the other one. So sometimes when we have to be careful all the time when you're walking around, and because there could just be an elephant or a buffalo that has decided to go, oh, no, I'm going to go on an adventure, and then they go wandering off. So that happens quite often. Every now and then in Nairobi itself, obviously Nairobi National Park is there, but Nairobi National Park has a fence around it. Hey, Archie, it does have a fence. However, these animals, they are so good at escaping. So sometimes they'll see lions on the freeway, or I'm sure the odd elephant will escape. So that happens every now and then too. Although it happens in South Africa. There's a small town actually not too far away from the Sabi Sand camp called Palaborva, if you will. And they're constantly seeing hippos at the garage station, so the petrol station, which is quite funny. Then, just on a nightly patrol, if they go down the road. So, and then in KZN, so KwaZulu-Natal, so on the east coast of South Africa, there's a couple of areas too, where the animals just do what they want. St. Lucia, those sort of spots, you can see lots of wildlife around. So yeah, you just got to know where to look, and sometimes the wildlife just finds you. And I'm thankful that it is finding us today. Now, a real treat would be if the lions would just emerge from out of those bushes between the elephants and the giraffe. I mean, that would be spectacular, and then try and chase down a zebra. But I think that is wishful thinking this afternoon, but we'll keep trying to look for some of the kitty cats. Maybe we'll try for the Mara River Pride next, in the next marshy section. I do like it out here for afternoon safaris. It's very, very special. A couple of buffalo too. What's happened there? Wonderful. I don't know who's being chased away over there. I couldn't quite see what happened. But anyways, it seems as though, Scott is up and running. He's also out this afternoon. I wonder where he's headed to, if he's going to look for a cheetah or perhaps the Sausage Tree Pride.
Come to some very sleepy Sausage Tree Lioness. It's actually been really awesome. The last few minutes they've been tossing and turning and going over quite a lot, trying to get comfortable. Also, jet for my time. My name is Scott, and I'm teamed up with Jean-Andre on camera this afternoon. It's good to be with you. I need some help. Who he had this morning. So, any of you who were on the Sunrise Safari with Brent and the... Sorry about Scott's feed again, folks. I'm not quite sure what's happening, but we just had some very fresh tracks of a male leopard coming up the road over here, and they just came through into the block directly towards where there's some aardvark holes and some diggings, a place where Hukumuri caught a number of warthogs. So there's a little bit of a two-track there. I just quickly stuck my nose in to see if we could maybe spot him somewhere around here, because the aardvark diggings are just off to my right-hand side. We've seen him kill 2 warthog here, and he was walking up the road doing exactly what we've seen him do before, and there was a very good chance he might have popped his nose in here. So we are going to have another look around and see if he is maybe here somewhere, but I didn't want to just walk in and chase him away. We go back a little bit and see how we do. It gets a little bit difficult up ahead. Lots of holes in the ground. Lots of holes for the animals to hide in as well. Lots of holes for the vehicles to fall into. Nothing with the thermal camera there, Darby. Having a little look with the thermal. Sometimes the best way to spot a leopard in the daytime. Bearing in mind it's quite warm, so there's a very good chance that he's we're going over to the thermal, see if we can spot anything. There we go. And sometimes you can actually see just the bulge of an animal sticking out, the heat reception of him. Of picture to look at, the trees and the grasses, but an animal would be a lot hotter than that, because in this time of day with a bit of sunshine there's a good chance that whatever it is will be lying up in the shade trying to cool down. Well, it was worth a little bit of a look, but nothing here at the moment. So we're going to go back to where I saw those tracks and maybe get another good idea of where they are. Derby Juma is very dry, and the fire threat yesterday they said on the index was 6. I think that's out of 10. I'm going to assume it's out of 10. So it's quite high. It's August. This is the time of year when we get these really dry, hot winds that come through. And with the dry vegetation that you see around, the potential risk of fire is there. So we're just going to be very careful in the activities we do. But that's why a lot of the fire breaks and the burning policies that go in beforehand are done when they're done, to prevent all of this happening happening when we're not prepared for it. So that is the reality. Okay, back we go. See if we can pick up on those tracks again. They were just off the road. A good chance he was going to pop through, check on his favorite Warthog hotel, but he hasn't done so. Well, maybe he did and he kept walking. And we'll just go around the block, see if anything pops out on the other side there. But we are very close to our western boundary, so there's a very good chance he came in, had a little look, and then went out again, just like that. There was no reports of him this morning from the west, and I didn't spend any time on this side this morning, so I didn't see the tracks, but they look quite fresh to me. Sorry, Darby, a bit bumpy there. Okay, onwards we go. They were on top of fresh elephant tracks, and the elephants were the ones that had gone all the way to the watering hole to drink. And not sure if it is the same elephants from this afternoon, but those tracks looked very, very steaming to me, as Herbie likes to say. Steaming. The edges are still very sharp, very clean. We're going to go left down here. This is a road that takes us to Impala Plains. And keeping our eyes open. We went all the way down to the southwest there. We didn't see any tracks of the rest of the lions coming through. Well, let's see if we can find any tracks of this leopard or any more lions as we go along. But let's go back up to the Masai Mara with some of my favorite kind of animals. Taylor has got some birds.
Look at what we've got here. We've got a flock of white-fronted bee-eaters and a lilac-breasted roller. And yay, they're doing my absolute favorite thing. They're having a dust bath. Yesterday we watched some zebra dust bathing, and now we get to watch the birds do it too. And that lilac-breasted roller seems to be a bit of a busybody. Hey, there's more than enough sand to go around for everyone. Thank you very much. No need to be all aggressive. And it's incredible to see how that roller absolutely dwarfs all those little bee... Well, they're not little bee-eaters, because that's a different species, but the small bee-eaters. In comparison, that's really, really quite fascinating. At 1 minute when I looked at the bee-eaters, I was like, hey, what even species are you? Because it was so dusty, I couldn't really see. But that white on the top of their head is very, very distinct, and that sort of white band underneath their beak, and then the beautiful black masking. They're stunning birds. They're really, really pretty. It's been some time that we've been able to get so many bee-eaters together. Well, I at least haven't seen it, and every time I've even tried to take a picture, they fly away, just like that. Anyways, and speaking of birds, before the one that James has flies away, let's go take a look.
Here is my bird. My bird is a grey bird. My bird is a grey go-away bird. That is the bird that is mine that I have here, a grey go-away bird. Of all the family of the turacos, this one the most drab, the most unentertaining, the one with the ugliest call, basically the runt of the family. But it's all we have by way of turaco in this area, and so we must make do. Now, I know that's a little bit unkind, but really, if you've seen the rest of the family, they are green and red, purple, yellow. The go-away birds in Kenya have got white heads, some of them, all sorts of fancy ones. We've just got this lot. Look at the one at the bottom's asleep. Yes, you've got him there. Jagged albino animals, unlikely. It's not impossible that an animal could be born albino out here. They wouldn't survive very long because of the sun, you'll find. It happens in elephants from time to time. Sometimes you get partial albinism. That's much more common than actual albinism. So partial albinism is exactly what it says. It is just when an animal has an absence of melanin in one part of the body. So you might have it on an elephant's ear, for example. That would be partial albinism. And then we do get leucistic animals. Of course, one of them's having a little bit of a stretch there. Leucistic or leucism is a not absence of melanin, but a reduction in melanin, say. And it's what gives you the most obvious example of leucism would be to go outside and find yourself a feral pigeon. I mean, there are lots of them around most towns and cities around the world. And you know, some of them are white and some of them have got a little bit of white on them. Some of them have got a lot of white. Some of them are almost black. They would be melanistic. Some of them are reddish brown. Those are rufous morphed pigeons. And so you can basically see all these colour variations with the pigeons. I'm going to talk to Herbert on the radio quickly. Unfortunately, some other... Go ahead, Herbert. I nearly said something insulting. Okay, copy. Confirm on Mamba. Herbie's just telling me about their lion tracking. Seems like they found them, but they're not possible to view on foot. Okay, copy. Thanks for that. Steve, come in. I think Steve's going to go there. That's what he was looking for. The other interesting thing here, everybody, is the fact that this tree is now in bud. Can you see that? It's budding. And that is why those grey go-away birds will be in the tree. They'll be eating the buds. I am correct in saying it's budding, aren't I? As far as I can see, those are buds. Yes, I think they are buds. And so it will be a good time. Except that it's a tambuti tree, and I'm not so sure that a grey go-away bird should be eating the buds of a poisonous tambuti tree, but clearly they don't mind too much. Possibly why the one keeps falling asleep. Probably a bit drunk. Drunk go-away bird. Good. Indigo Girl, you say this is your favourite bird call. Indigo Girl, really? Of all the bird calls that we have here, this is your favourite? Where? I suppose it's quite nice. It's not too bad. And you know, it's very nice for the bird that somebody has this as their favourite. I think they always look so surprised. I quite like the expression on their faces. The surprised go-away bird. Yes, there's the one that's possibly had a little bit too much tambuti to drink or eat. Seems to be about to pass out. So we're not too far from the Gallagher Pan, and we just came round here to see if there weren't perhaps some sign, or isn't some sign of leopards. But at this stage, nay, nothing so far. You can hear some crested francolins calling. And this one's now falling asleep, as you can see. Alrighty, I think from this sleeping grey go-away bird, we are going to head probably north, and we're also going to head you a long way north to the Masai Mara with Taylor.
I bet some of you are going to be so excited because we've got jackals, blackback jackals, 3 of them. Bye, jackals, where are you going? Out to look for some dinner, I think. I would imagine at this time of the night they've probably been resting up for a little bit. Yeah, they are busy looking for all sorts of things in the grass. There's lots of birds around here, and jackals are pretty good at catching birds. Not quite as talented as a caracal or a serval when it comes to leaping into the air. Yeah, but they can, they can jump fairly well. But now completely camouflaged in the grass. I wonder where, if we follow them. Oh, I can't off-road after these jackal. This is also a high-use area, so there's no offering around here. Oh my goodness, off you go to bushwalk, who has found a big, fierce lion.
I have got the lions here now, the Umkuhuma Pride. They were just resting in the moment, but I can see now they are showing us some movement, moving from cover to cover. So it was a very great sighting earlier on. So now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to be guided by Hebi and see if we can have a better sighting, because they are all here, not very far away. You can see there's quite a lot of movement in between the bushes there. So I'm not going to be talking a lot, but I will be talking to you softly. So we are now slowly approaching just to have a better visual. They all went right here now. The bush is very much thick at the moment, but I can see a little bit. There it is. You can see it's now slowly going down towards that side. So we're just trying to approach from the side so that we can at least have a better sighting. It is getting very interesting at the moment. Not easy to find the lions in the afternoons. They can lie down flat. We are going to be very careful indeed, my viewers. So I've just seen quite a few of them. Not too sure if all of them are right here at this spot at the moment. From this side where we are now, we might maybe have a better visual of the whole area here. So they are just on the edge of the drainage, the old dry riverbed. So it seems like now at this stage they're just walking right in the riverbed. So we're just gonna keep trying and see if we can have a better visual. But now we are approaching much more open space a little bit. Some of the animals and birds already started giving some warning signals about the presence of the lion at this stage. These lions can easily hide. I'm just gonna climb this termite mound here and see if I can see very far. Just gonna climb here and see if I can see very far, because now from here at least I can hear there's a bird calling Hebi much more towards the right. You can hear the squirrels as well. They're starting to complain at the moment. So it means they might be now moving down towards the southern side. So I can see where the squirrels are complaining from, and they are heading towards that direction. It means they might be somewhere right here in between these bushes. Where these birds and those squirrels are calling is where these lions might be. Vavi, the lions, they have got a natural human fear. So yes, they do charge. That is determined by quite a lot of things. There is one which is called a comfort zone. There is an area whereby when we are out on walk, the animals feels happy about our presence. And if we trespass the comfort zone, we will be entering an alert zone whereby the animal is going to stop what it's doing and try to investigate. If we pass the alert zone, we will be then entering a warning zone where that animal is going to start giving us some warning signals. And if we pass that one, we'll be entering a critical zone where anything can just happen. So let me again try to check, because everywhere here I can hear that the small animals are complaining from the trees. I haven't spotted any movement anymore. The wind is right on our favor now. Too much wind is blowing at the moment from the eastern direction of the Kruger National Park towards the western side of Juma. Hebi, can you see something from where you are? So I'm just gonna go down now and see. So now, while I'm going to reallocate the lions, let's see, James has got the zebra. Let's see how the zebras are doing.
What we have here is a zebra, of course. And the zebra is eating, unsurprisingly. It is, of course, winter now, and therefore the forage is very dry and quite difficult for the zebra to derive sufficient nutrition from. And there you see it is managing. It is not skinny, it does not look like it is about to drop dead of starvation, which is often a great big surprise to a lot of people that come out here and see the rangelands, if you like, as they are now in their winter colours. They think, good grief, this is a dry and barren spot, surely nothing can survive. Well, there you have the answer to that. Yes, they can survive. They obviously all have specially adapted digestive systems, and they're able to drink sufficient water in an area like this to somehow suck enough nutrition out of this very dry straw-like grass, which is most impressive, I think. He's also got a little oxpecker on his back, which has now gone around the other side. My safari, they protect each other, yes, from predators using their teeth and their kick. They've got a vicious kick, and also the way in which they move. Now, they are, of course, woodland species in this part of the world, and, well, I suppose they would always expect to be ambushed, and so what they do is they will have the oldest female in front, the stallion brings up the rear, and they have the younger animals in the middle. And the stallion is therefore the one in the most risky position, because he would be the one to take an attack from behind. The oldest female could, of course, be attacked from the front, but it's most likely that lions or something like that would come from the back. And so they walk in this very strict formation, always single file when they're moving through the bush. And then if it opens up like it's open here, then they'll spread out a bit. And there is another one I see just behind us, or behind this one. They might be two bachelors, you know, possibly. That's why they're not closer together. Yes, the one that we were looking at initially is most certainly a young stallion. And that one that you're looking at now doesn't look so young. Bit of a skin problem. I can't tell if that's a stallion or a mare at the moment. Looks actually to me like a mare. slightly heavier of belly than the stallions. Not a young animal. No, definitely a stallion actually. I can see just between his hind legs. Can I? Is that what I'm looking at? I think so. Anyway, quite an old animal. It might be a branch, Emma. Emma says she thinks it's a branch. Excuse me, could you take a few steps forward? No, there's not a branch. It's definitely a package. It's most certainly a male. I can see his scrotum, which looks actually a little bit swollen. I wonder if he hasn't hit it on a stick or something. Hit it on a branch, exactly. We had a long discussion a little while back, and I've naturally forgotten the information that was sent to me very kindly by some viewers about why it is that some animals have external testes and some have internal testes, and I have almost entirely forgotten. Now that chap's got a problem. That's not normal. Ow. You see that, Fergus? No, you've got a branch in the way. Let me just move forward, and anybody who would like to remind me, anyone who would like to remind me in a sentence or two as to why it is that some mammals have internal and why some have external testes, that would be great. So I think that's a bit swollen and sore there. No, Louise, that was the theory that I came up with, was that it was to do with regulating temperature, and it would seem that that is not the case, because in actual fact often testes behave the opposite way you'd expect them to in temperature situations, or in difficult temperature situations. So that's sort of kind of been disproven. Or it was in this article, which I've since lost and now I can't remember, naturally. Yes, now that chap has got a deeply swollen left testicle. Ow. Anyway, it is a little bachelor group of two. He may be slightly too old to be competing. He may have just lost his wives. He doesn't look like a youngster anymore. Sorry, old fellow. Are you on your own? He's even missing a piece of his right ear. Ugh. All right, well, I'm going to still try and find out what's going on with this sort of mystery of the swollen left testicle, while you go across to Steve, who's trying to solve the mystery of where are the lions.
Did I? Zebra testicles. What's going on that side? Anyway, we've been called in. Herbie's found the lions, as you probably know. We've just come all the way around. We didn't have any luck with those leopard tracks, although they seemed quite fresh. Very thick block to go into. We didn't see anything coming out on the western side. Herbie is busy talking to me now. Okay, he's telling me exactly where to go now. Okay, Herbs, gotta go in over here. There's a little pathway that goes into the drainage. You can hold on here. Hold on, everybody. We're hoping to find some lions now. So our original plan this afternoon was to go out, spend some time looking for the rest of the unkuhumas that probably came in, and here's some lion tracks over here. So they've been around, they've been moving around this area, and then we found that leopard track. It took us off a little bit of a tangent. Herbie's done the hard work on foot. You can see them standing over there on the top of that termite mound over there. I've got a bushwalk team. Rosalind, lions are all about movement. All about movement. So those guys are I don't know if they can see them, but they're probably a safe distance away. I can hear squirrels shouting here. So we're going to go into the drainage line. Rosalind, lions and leopards, cats invariably are all about movement. Have you ever gone like this, if your cat is sleeping like this, and scratch in front of its face? Like, they have to catch it. And it's an instinct. All cats have that instinct, and they respond to movement. And that's why a lot of the strategies that animals have here, for example, that steenbok that we saw earlier, is to freeze, run away a short distance and stand very still, because as soon as they move, they get spotted. Okay, well, while we get down here, see if we can find these animals that are hiding somewhere in the drainage line. We're going to be going thousands of miles, it seems, back up north to the Masai Mara with David Gitu on safari.
And everybody, and how is it going? As usual, my name is David, and filming with me today is James. Hi, James.
Hi, how are you?
Very good. We have been looking for some lions for the last 1 hour. We haven't seen any. The grass is that high. James is a very tall boy, but I think the grass is tall as James. But we still have some hope. At one point, we'll be seeing some lions, and we are not giving up. The wind has picked up. If you may look ahead of us there, as James might pan and show you the beautiful savannah, and you'll see how the wind is blowing the grass out there, and that makes it very difficult if the lions tend to hide in the grass. They're well done, James. It makes it very difficult for us to spot them, but we got the beautiful savannah for you to watch, and we are promising you. Yeah, James, you want to go to the right all the way? We got loads of wildebeest up there towards that hill. Do you think, James, you can get that, or is that too far? If you pan slowly to the right, we got thousands and thousands of wildebeest right below that hill. I don't know how far your extender can go. Well done. Very good panning. Look at the beauty of the Masai Mara. Look at the beauty of the migration. Well done, James. Malaika, always a pleasure to hear your name, and your question is, how big is the Mara? The Mara is 1,510 square kilometers. That's the main Mara. And then where we are positioned right now, we are in the Mara Triangle, and Mara Triangle is about 500 square kilometers. And what happens is, why do we say it's the Mara Triangle? It's the Mara Triangle because it takes the shape of a triangle, Malaika. One side of that triangle is what we call the Ololo escarpment. We might be showing it to you today. And then the other side of the triangle is the famous Mara River, where all those wildebeest we just showed you a few seconds ago will always cross, and the zebras. And then the other side of that triangle is the boundary between Kenya and a country in the south called Tanzania. Roughly, that's the size of the Mara Triangle, and the whole area is about 1,500 square kilometers. And one of the biggest or the most important habitat of the Masai Mara is the savannah. And the savannah is the open grasslands that you're going to show you. What you're going to try to do now, we're going to move forward and see these elusive lions we've been trying to locate where they could be hiding. I'll bet the wind, the grass being high, there's a chance we might see them. Righty, okay. And good news, Stivovo might have found what I was talking about a few seconds ago.
Yes, well, we've got at least one individual here at the moment, and she's on the other side of the drainage line. It's just one for now. Don't know where the rest of them are, or how many there were. Is it still the 3 females from this morning? She's still looking intently in the distance as the bushwalk team slowly departs. Thank you to them for helping us find these lions. This is what they do. They see movement, they get interested in it. There's a second one now, moving off. Hey, look, they've got a little bit of something in their belly. Trying to identify them. They generally do have a little bit of sort of angst in them after seeing people on foot, and they will relax quite quickly. It's that whole thing of how lions have evolved on the African continent with humans, and if they see us, you know, they're actually afraid of us, to be honest. And if you get too close, they will have to react in a way, and it can be negative sometimes. But being out here in the bushwalks that we do, we're very careful, and we don't want to make them run away. And if they do move off slightly, it is part of what lions do. Hello, Tucker, age 6, sorry. Lions, when they see you, yes, what they first will do is, if you're walking, they'll pop their head up like this and kind of give you a little look, and that's the first sign that you see of a lion. And then if you get any closer, they can go down in their ears, and sometimes they can make a very low rumble that sometimes you don't even hear it the first time, but the second time you hear it. It goes right through your bones. It chills you right to the core. And it's important for people who do trails guide courses to understand how to deal with lions, because you could suddenly just get a pride of lions or an individual lying up in a thicket, and you're walking around the thicket and they could come at you from that thicket. It's important to know how to deal with it, and Herbie is an absolute expert at what he's doing, and Sydney has done a lot of this himself. So they're not causing any negative behavior with the lions. They move off just a little bit to make themselves comfortable, and then off they go. But it's always the case, lions and leopards, when they see a human on foot for the first little while, they'll always have their head up for a little bit. Mrs. Lapwing, from what I've seen, I can't tell you right now. I'm going to have to get a closer look at these individuals from what I've seen. I haven't spent enough time. It does look like potentially an Unkuhuma female, that one. Very dark eyes, though. She looks like the oldest of the lioness, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm going to have a little look-see. I do think it is the oldest of the lionesses. We've got a very dark nose. She's got quite dark brown eyes. I don't think it's amber eyes, though, because amber eyes is a monster. And she's got a little bit of a longer face. But the second lioness, I'm not sure either. Well, we'll get around shortly and get around out onto the top here and see them from the other side. There we go. That looks like one of the younger ones. There she's moving back. Bobby, lions can probably see about as far as we can see. They just pick up on things differently to what we pick up on. They pick up on shapes and on movement. And where is she going? She is beautiful, isn't she? She looks like one of the younger lionesses. I'm not sure. That could actually be amber eyes with that long face. Where is she going? Has she spotted something else in the distance? We can just sit here and wait. Keep our eyes on the first lioness that we could see and see where this individual goes. Have you still got her, Davy? She's just moved around the top there. She's on the top of the bank there. We've just come from there. It took us a bit of effort to get through there as well. Well, are we going to try keep with her or stay with the one we've got? I think we'll just... Here we go. She's going to move as well. So we'll come up the drainage here and see if we can get a close look. Any of the viewers back home, through the pictures you've just seen, tell us who these are. I mean, everyone on the radio is saying Unkuhuma pride. I'm getting a strong feeling that they are. Only two. There she goes. It's definitely cool enough for them to be moving. Okay, well, she's gone around the termite mound there. Let's see if we can catch up. But watch out, Darby. There she is. Moving around the other side. Only two. I wonder where the third one might be. Okay, well, while we get around here and see if we can catch up with these cats, let's go back over to the successful bushwalk team.
I am now having something very much interesting after a sighting of the lions on foot. It was quite a very great experience. It's just that the lions, they are not very settled regarding our presence, so they decided to go and hide not very far away from where we were. So now I have got something to show you here. This is one of the acacia species. It's very much difficult at this stage for me to identify this plant, but I want to give you some of the interesting medicinal uses. The acacia trees, we normally come and take their flowers, and we take flowers and burn them. After burning the flower, we take the ashes, and those ashes is the ones that we apply here. We apply them here by the umbilical cord of a newborn in order to heal the umbilical cord very quickly. And also we use those ashes, we keep the remaining ones and use them against any kind of infections, and it works very nicely. It doesn't even affect the newborn. So this is one of the plants we are using in order to treat the problems traditionally where I come from, which is in Venda. So now we are going to carry on and see if we can find more other interesting things for you. It has been great so far. I was happy with the lion sighting. So the lions were resting, but unexpectedly they saw us and decided to run away. So now I will be looking for more other things here by this side where I am. But if you check, when I'm scratching everywhere, no insects are flying up. You can see that the insects, they are still hiding. They are not yet back. Come summer season, it will be a lot everywhere. So now, let's go this way, Craig, and see. Maybe we might find more other interesting things. So James has got the zebras as I'm talking to you now. Let's see what James is doing.
Well, what James is doing is looking for other things, but we found zebras here. Now, while we look at them again, and I don't think these are males, I'm going to continue my scrotum discussion because I found an article. In fact, I think it was probably the same article that I had. Basically, the temperature hypothesis doesn't hold water, doesn't hold up to a huge amount of scrutiny because it's a chicken and egg situation. And the chicken and egg situation goes a little bit like this. Why, or no, not why, are the testicles descended, in other words, outside of the body because they form better when it's cooler? Or did the testicle descend out of the body, or let me get this straight. Did the testicles descend from the body because sperm forms better in cooler temperatures, or does sperm form at cooler temperatures better because the testicles came out of the body? You see the problem there. And there are many animals that have internal testicles and therefore have, there's nothing necessarily inconsistent with sperm development in testicles that are internal. So elephants have them, for example, rhinos have them, birds have them internally, and birds' temperatures are much higher than our own at about 108 degrees Fahrenheit. And so there's nothing fundamentally impossible or nothing fundamentally incongruent with sperm development at higher temperatures. So the temperature hypothesis for descended testicles doesn't actually hold a huge amount of water. Now, I'm afraid I didn't get all the way through the article to come up with a whole lot more ideas for why they should be internal, for example, in that hornbill, and external in something like us or the zebras. But it is quite an interesting discussion because they are obviously hugely vulnerable when they are outside of the body. So, there it is. I shall continue to do some research on that, and I'll be very interested in having any theories that you have. Thank you, Louis de Lion. You say that James has gone nuts. Yes. Yes. That is quite true. Alrighty, we're going to go back up towards Buffelshoek Dam. And while we do that, let's go back to Steve-O Vovo.
Thanks, James. Well, it appears that this one is actually Amber Eyes. Looking at her closely now, her very, very amber-like eyes that she's got. And also, she's quite scruffy on the back of her neck. I wonder if any of the viewers out there can agree with me. But it appears that the three lioness that we're with now are three of the adults. And you see a bit scruffy on the back of the neck, and she's got beautiful brown eyes, and she's always known, I've always known her to give me a bit of a look, which she did just now. That look that goes straight through your soul. But they're all relaxed again. Minamu, I don't think prides feel insecure without males. If anything, they get to eat more. I mean, for example, probably the reason why these three adults are on their own is that they probably have been killing of late, and the youngsters that are now becoming adults are eating and competing at a very sort of alarming rate. And there's lots of scratching and fighting that goes on. So what happens is that the three adults will just leave. They'll be like, well, you're not my daughter, and they'll just move off and leave the rest of the pride feeding on a smaller animal, go off hunting on their own. But it's incredible how far and what a distance they can cover in an evening. To them, it's not really far at all, and then they'll move all the way back again. So I don't think they feel a bit output at all by not having males. It's just less competition, less animals to eat. So males bring with them a whole lot of problems of their own. They are very vicious when it comes to feeding and eating, and they always outcompete the females, always. So they actually, I don't think they get any joy out of having the males around. I mean, even the copulation looks very painful. How is that? Wow, that's the look I'm talking about, folks. She's just got this look about her, Amber Eyes. I think it's her. Still got her nipples there look like they've been recently suckled on, not too recently. I think the news of Amber Eyes having cubs, they potentially are dead, as far as I'm aware. She didn't like the limelight there. She's gone and found herself a much nicer spot. So the rest of the pride, if this is indeed the Nkuhuma pride, will follow the rest of them. Alistair, you want to know why they've split? I think I was discussing that just before. It's all got to do with food. If they don't find a big enough animal, then there's going to be so much competition over whatever they catch that others are just going to move off. And the youngsters are getting more and more physical, and especially that young male getting more and more physical at feeding time. And these three ladies will go off and enjoy a meal on their own. An entire kudu by themselves will be perfect feeding for them. So that's invariably what happens. They go through periods of all the pride being together, and then they split up for periods of time. It's all about the competition over feeding time. If they don't find a large enough animal, like a buffalo, well, it is really hard to keep themselves fed. The other night they killed a zebra, and they still moved off before the bones were even finished. So it's just not a big enough animal for them. I don't know how big it was. Is she going to get up? She looks like she's going to get up. The typical Sphinx posture. Bless you. I need a reposition there for you, Darby. Back or forward? I don't quite know. These two in front here are in quite thick vegetation. The best thing we can do is to get the back of this one's head. Or I could go forward an inch or two. Okay, well, not only are the lions camouflaged in the middle of the day, James has found a bird that is a master of camouflage.
Here's a master of nocturnal camouflage, the barred owlet, everybody. They're staring at us somewhere near Biffleshoek Waterhole, so not the same one that we've seen before, as far as I can tell. It's so cross. It's got such a cross little face. You can't really see it. The light isn't great for us there. But that is the barred owlet. At roughly, what did we say, 8 inches in height. Tiny little bird, or little owl. And it is quite a fluffy little owl. Yes, I agree with that. Just enjoying the last bits of sun before a chilly winter evening begins. And I think it is going to be a relatively chilly evening. I just want to go through its diet. I quite like to go through the diet when we have a bird sitting still. And I often forget, you see. I need to go through them again and again. Yes, mostly invertebrates, some birds, lizards and frogs recorded. Unlike its slightly more aggressive cohort, the pearl-spotted owl, which will also eat invertebrates, but also a bold hunter of rodents, bats, lizards, snakes and small children. I'm joking about the last bit. Good. Well, that was the barred owlet, everybody. Tracy, I don't know many people who don't love owls. I think they hold some sort of fascination for us. I'm not really sure why, but I agree. I think they're wonderful creatures. I remember reading a book once at school that I think was it by Steinbeck? I Heard the Owl Call My Name. A wonderful book, and ever since then I've had an enjoyment of owls. I think it was John Steinbeck. Was my name Twit at the time? No. Thank you for that, Fergus. Yeah, I think it's referring to its head or beard. If you look at the top of its head, it's got barring. Its belly certainly and chest are spotted. Well, it's sort of lower chest and belly, but the top of its head, if we were looking at this bird in good light, you would be able to see is barred, white bars. Unlike the pearl-spotted owl, which of course is spotted on the head, not barred. Yes. All righty. Let's move on from here. We are not too far from Biffleshoek Waterhole. While we go there, let us go to the sunning lions.
Yes, well, this is kind of the view that you would never get a better view than this on a bushwalk of lions. Flopped down in some thickets. Not the best photographic opportunities, but seeing lions on foot, it's all about the thrill of knowing you're in lion country. Maybe seeing them from a distance as they maybe depart with a flick of a tail. Maybe you hear a growl. It's not ever something you try and carry out. You don't ever want to be charged by an animal in the wilderness, but when it does happen, it absolutely chills the body. All the lions are trying to do is to warn you, tell you don't come any closer. And I tell you, the sound that they make makes you move nowhere. Your legs go leaden to the ground. Your face goes white. It is a terrifying experience, but one that most people will never forget. So that's one of the reasons why walking out in the wilderness is so important from a silence point of view. It's why it's so important that we've got Herbie, because we've got these earpieces in our ears. We can't hear things, and when we can hear, we can't hear what direction it's coming from. So if we were walking around a thicket like this, we wouldn't even know there were lions inside. So it's very important never to just go bashing through bushes on foot. Always skirt around it. Give the animals the element of, escape if they need to. Comfort zone. If you can't see them, they probably can't see you. So it's just the three. Just the three of them here. I'm pretty sure that that one's Amber Eyes, if I'm not mistaken. Monique, yes, she is a very good condition. All of these lions are. The only, I'm pretty sure that the first one we were looking at earlier was indeed the oldest lioness that we have. It was born in 2007, 2008. The other one we were looking at not so long ago was the youngest lioness. She was born in 2014, and then Amber Eyes, the one who we were looking at just now, she is 2013 years old. 2013 born, so 5 or so, 6. She's a very powerful cat, and there is the oldest one. Please feel free to correct me, ladies and gentlemen, back home if I am completely wrong here. But I'm using all the technology I have. Got that little nick low down in the ear there of the three. And from the back you can see the dark ear. There's not much to be seen from the front if you don't know what you're looking for. Definitely camouflaged cats. This is their terrain, this is their environment. Obviously they've evolved out of an environment that was once a lot more thick, a lot more forested. They were probably a much smaller predator with spots, solitary. And as the savannas were created due to climate change, lower rainfalls, drier climate led to the opening up of the landscape, led to savannas being created with lots of grass. And that led to the creation of enormous herbivore animals and herds of them. And so the solitary spotted cat emerged out of the forest into the plains. It could only get so big, so got as big as lions did, and then decided to team up, because teaming up was beneficial. And those that teamed up were successful, and that sort of genetic trait passed on, able to take much larger prey in a group. Even these three lionesses are formidable hunters, able to take down a zebra, wildebeest, no problem. Cammy, you want to know where we are? Let me try find. Oh my word, that map is covered in coffee. Well, I feel embarrassed showing you. Oh, hang on, look whose map it is. It belongs to Brent. Of course, it's covered in coffee and a bit of spray paint. Well, we are on Ledwood Road. I can't show you that whole map. We are over here, over there, right in the sort of southwest of the property, somewhere along this little area here. And they were seen earlier this morning somewhere over there, crossing in all the way in from our western boundary. And we checked there, we found where their tracks came in, but no sign of the rest of the pride. So the update that Tristan gave us is probably the update given of the three females. Sometimes when people track lions, they don't really give you the information that it is the entire pride or three individuals. Normally if you find the tracks of three, you just assume the entire pride has moved off. So maybe the people in the west have no idea that the rest of the Nkuhumas are lying up there, maybe on a kill, on a carcass, on something, doing something not too dissimilar from what these guys are doing, and that is lying up, waiting for the odds to fall in their favor, the light to fade and the temperature to drop. Always alert though. Beautiful cats. I was commenting a couple of days ago about how I miss seeing lions. And that individual there who's about to come through, Darby, I don't think you're going to get her there, but she's got a bit of a belly on her. It's not full. It's not full, so maybe they've, between the three of them, eaten an impala or something like that. An impala doesn't go anywhere between the pride, but amongst these three adults, an impala would be a Nikkei male or a small nyala. They don't look full, but the tracks indicated they were definitely hunting zebra. Been on quarantine where we did our running this morning, we definitely saw the tracks of where the zebra had gotten a little bit of a fright, and lions circling in all different directions. It was only the three. I had a feeling that there was a young male amongst them. Maybe there's more lions scattered throughout Djuma that we haven't caught up with yet. That does happen, as I was saying, that they will move on from one kill to another. Don't know if you can hear it, there's some birds shouting around us. Little alarm calls at these giant cats on the floor. They don't see them all the time, these little birds. And when they do see a giant cat, well, they shout very loudly. Just that classic little chip, 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 chip alarm call that we often do to attract the birds, because they get attracted by alarm calls to come in and investigate and to help mob or chase off the predator that is around. But I doubt any of them will be mobbing or chasing one of these individuals. What do you think, Davy? No. No chance. Okay. Okay, well, these cats look like they're going to be having a little nap for the next little while, but we'll stay with them, see if they get up to anything in the next little while, but I'm sure they'll start moving once the sun starts to set. But let's go over to James, who's going to wow you with some termite stories.
Wow! There is a waterbuck, my goodness, a waterbuck cow, if you can believe it. And surprise, surprise, she's not very close to water. Well, you might say to yourself, that's very strange indeed. Why would she not be near water? Well, it so turns out that I did a bit of reading on waterbuck today, and they are relatively close to water quite a lot of the time. And that is not because, as is commonly said, they run into water when they're chased by predators, because Sydney and I were having a discussion about that earlier today, and we both agreed that we'd never seen a waterbuck run into water in order to escape predators. Rather, they seem to be dependent on water. So they have a rather high water requirement, which means that you will seldom find them too far away from water, especially at this time of the year. They're not too far from Buffelshoek Dam, but they're not that close either. The other thing to note, of course, is that they feed in the ecotones. In other words, they feed in the regions between two vegetation types, and in this case, it's normally the crest and the sort of downslope, so they feed around about the seepline areas. That's where they find the best grasses. So that is the information that I'm going to give you about waterbuck today. That's what I've read. Good. Always nice to give a little bit of newish information. I always like to say at this time of the year, of course, that their coloration is now so obvious. Or it's not obvious. It's so obvious why they are that colour at this time of the year. That sort of grey-brown floating through the grey-brown bush makes them quite difficult to see. Exactly, Kitty Cat. Precisely what I was trying to get at there, that they blend in perfectly well with the landscape. And that isn't the case in summer, when they stand out against a green background, but of course then they just need to step behind a bush to remain invisible, which I think is quite fun. Now I'm really quite jealous of what David Gitamba Gitu is going to show you, because it is of course the greatest spectacle that East Africa has to offer.
Well, we did not see the lions I was thinking about, but we have seen something that lions love, and something that is making the Masai Mara look very, very colorful, because these are the van beasts or the wildebeests that are coming in their hundreds So what you are seeing now, you'll be seeing pockets of say 50 here, 1,000 there, 10,000 there, as James is showing you. And if you look carefully here, the grass looks a bit short and look green, and that's exactly what they are eating. And there was some fire here a few weeks ago, and part of the grass is much greener because we had some showers. And zebras are also coming in. And migration incorporates ideally the wildebeest and the zebras. Those are the main two species of animals that will migrate, and they'll move in their thousands. This makes Masai Mara very, very special because it's the only one place you see this kind of spectacle where the wildebeest and the zebras will come from Serengeti, which is south of Kenya in a country called Tanzania, and they do hundreds or to thousands of miles coming to the north after they have dropped the babies in South Africa. Look at how beautiful they are. Anka, that's a very good question. I think your question is it only the wildebeest and the zebras that migrate? Those are the two main species of animals that will migrate. But also, they are occasionally, or they are also followed by elands. Elands are a type of antelopes that are huge, very, very big, or the largest antelopes that we got in East Africa. If you're lucky, you might see some. And also some small antelopes that we call the Thompson gazelles. But when you talk of migration, mainly we'll talk of the wildebeest, because the figures will keep changing every year. But the times you talk about 1.5 million animals, 1.5 million animals, and of that, 800,000 odds are wildebeest. And then we'll have, like say, 400, 500,000 of zebras, then the elands and the tommies. But the main two species that will migrate are what you're seeing on your screen, the vanbeest or the wildebeest and the zebras. Both sexes having horns, males and females. And they will always migrate for two main reasons, for food and for dropping the young ones. They'll always drop the babies in Serengeti, and that is the eastern Serengeti and western of the Ngorongoro Conservation Area in Tanzania. And once the babies are strong, the babies you're seeing around here, I guess most of them were dropped in the month of February. And if that's the case, they would be about 6 months old. And that is good age for them to be able to travel. And migration is all around the year. They don't stop. Apart from that particular period of 2 weeks, either mid-February or towards the end of February, they'll drop to give birth, then they keep moving. Angie, I guess your question is, have the animals started to migrate, or are they just ending? That's the question, Megan. Sorry, I might have missed the last part of the question. Very good. I would say migration, as I was saying earlier, that's a very good question, Angie, and you're asking, have they started or have they already migrated, Angie? And I'll tell you, Angie, migration is non-stop. It's a continuous movement all around the year. They don't start and they don't stop. And if they do stop, Angie, it's the month of February, as I said, either the first 2 weeks of February or the last 2 weeks of February, when the females will drop their young ones. And if you happen to be around there, estimates say they drop anything between 400 to 600,000 babies in a span of 2 weeks, Angie. Will you believe that? And out of those, maybe only 3 out of 5 will survive. They face so many challenges. It's a long journey. It's very tough. The times they face drought, they face lots of predators on the way, and like the fires I was talking about, and not many that make it. Is a long way. We are talking of maybe almost 2,000 plus miles. So to cover that journey, you must be very, very fit. And also, they get a lot of diseases on the way. But most important, once they cross over, they have to cross the river called the Mara River, and the Mara River is shared by the two countries or by the two game reserves, Masai Mara and Serengeti. And when they do that, a big percentage of them also is lost, either through the stampede when they fracture their legs, or when you get reptiles like the crocodiles that will be waiting for them in the water. Once in a while, we'll also see leopards or hyenas or lions on the Mara River bank waiting for them to cross, and they grab the ones that can't make it on the other side. Isn't it beautiful just to see them in the open, in the beautiful background of the sky? Fantastic. And I'm sure Steve knows if his lions get very hungry. We got thousands and a wide selection of food here in the Masai Mara Triangle in Kenya.
David, I don't think these lions have any idea about the scope of the animals that you find up in the Mara. They make do with small prey and buffalo most of the time. But what I wanted to show you is something we were doing earlier when we were trying to have a little scan in the bushes for a potential leopard. What we're going to do, and if we can go to the thermal camera in a second, Em, you can go to the thermal camera whenever you're ready. We're going to basically scan the camera from right to left. Okay, so we're on the thermal, and now we're just going to show you what you'd basically see if you're looking through the thick bush. And we're a good 20 meters away from these lions, and see how they just pop up like that. Boom, there's two, and there's the third one. How marvelous is that? So we found Hasana a few times lying up in the thick grass, because if there was a lot of grass and vegetation in front of them, you'd still see them. It's just the wood and the trees that kind of mask the sign of the animal. But I think that is very, very interesting. Such nice use of the technology, hey David? Yeah. TSIX, a new viewer, welcome to the show. Well, I can tell you one thing for certain. Lions absolutely stink. Lions, hyenas and leopards, they don't have the same ablution facilities that we have, the same use of soap and showers. So they smell of death and decay and rotten meat. Quite a smell I think they quite enjoy. But it is a smell that when picked up on the wind scares the antelope species into running very far away. Lions can even follow themselves by following the scent trail on the ground. They can follow the rest of the pride kilometers, miles even, by just smelling the feet of their mothers and sisters that walked before them. They do have a very rancid smell to them, and if you did touch them, you could potentially get all sorts of parasites on your hands. You'd have to be very clean. I've dealt with a couple of lions before in the past, with one with a snare and one for a collar, and so we touched them, but they do have a very, very off smell. Hyena as well, and it's for that reason that a lot of these animals will actually roll in the dung of other animals to mask that smell that they have. Roll in the dung. Oh, hello, turning your face for us there. Are we still on the thermal camera, Em? You can see on the thermal camera how warm the tip of the nose is, and how warm the eyes are, and inside of the ear. And that's where most of the heat is given off, and even just there on the base of the mouth, right at the opening of the mouth. Very good. We can't see their paws though, like we've seen with Hosana. Back to colour we are, although the other one is a little bit more colourful. There we are on the normal camera. Here we got the beautiful lions that are in a very characteristic. The individual on the far right is showing a little bit of a belly, as we were talking about before. She is I think the oldest lioness. It's just behind the branch, but there's just a little bit of a belly there. I can see it clearly from where I am. I can't go any further forward. There's a stump just in front of my left wheel, but the belly is not full, but it is not empty. It's amazing how much food lions can put inside of that stomach. It gets distended higher than the shoulder is sitting, and when they are empty it goes in as if they have got enormous anorexia in their stomach. But that is just all there for stretching and for filling with meat. 36 kilograms of meat a lion can feed on. Louise says that they had an impala 2 days ago. Well, Lou, I think their belly is a bit further than 2 days ago worth of eating. I think in the last 24 hours, 12 hours even, they ate something quite small. Maybe even this morning they was hunting for zebra, and the speed, or not the speed, but the distance with which they've come in search of those zebra, for them to have a little bit of a belly like that, to me indicates that they've eaten something small this morning sometime. And their faces are clean because they probably spent quite a few hours in this afternoon cleaning and grooming themselves before moving off again. Again, probably looking for food. Impala's just not enough to satisfy them, and they're making hay while the sun shines before the rest of the pride catches up with them. Hello, Willow, aged 4. Yes, the lions do get rather itchy, and quite often you'll see them scratching, especially here behind the ears. They get lots of ticks on the back of the ears, and they scratch. You see them with that typical sort of back leg over the shoulder, scratch, 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 and also under the chin sometimes. And sometimes they'll even nibble on their own body where there's been a tick bite or something. But these lions, these are called the Onkuhuma lions, Onkuhuma pride. They are in very good condition. There's another pride of lions that we sometimes see more to the sort of east from where we are now, called the Styx pride. And they've got a form of mange, which is a sort of an infection on the fur, a bacteria on the fur that looks really, really bad. It's very itchy, and you see them constantly scratching, almost as if they've got chicken pox or something like that. Very, very busy scratching. But these individuals don't seem too bothered by anything at the moment. Maybe it's my soothing voice, Dave. What do you reckon? Put them to sleep. Yeah, I've been told I've got a soothing voice sometimes. Yes, they are learning the art of meditation as well, these lions, although they're going to have to think about their meat diet. I'm only joking. I've never met a vegetarian lion in my life. I don't think they'd be able to survive if they ate vegetables. Beautiful. MK, I have never really gone and stuck my nostrils right into the scent of lion urine, but I've never noticed it smelling like popcorn. I have smelt it before, but it doesn't have that sort of wafting fragrance of the leopard popcorn smell. Well, like when you walk into the cinema and you smell that popcorn, you get really excited. That's the feeling I get when I smell leopard urine. But lion urine, I've never smelt that smell. I don't think it gives off the same pheromone composition. It doesn't attract them for that. But lions do smell each other's urine, so there's definitely some smell in there that they're picking up on. There's definitely pheromones in there that is communicating all very similar sort of stuff. But for some reason, it doesn't have the same smell. Why it's evolved a leopard urine to smell like that is hard to tell. Maybe it's because of their occurrence in the forests, and they needed the urine to sort of smell more than just on a game path, smell a little bit sort of waft off into the distance. I'm not 100% sure. But Davey, have you smelt lion urine? No. I have definitely smelt it, but I've never noticed any sort of smell to it that is worth noticing. Okay, well, the Bushwalk team who found these lions for us again, very, very good stuff, Sydney. Apparently he's still searching for something.
I am still searching for some of the interesting things. However, I managed to find some of the fresh tracks for Thandi and Kalamba somewhere in that block. So, but now I want to show you something very much interesting. It's not clear from here where I am. Craig, if you can come this side. I just saw there was a reflection of a spider web, but I can see that from this angle where I am, because of the sun, I can't see it very, very well. So it just got disappeared. So maybe this is one of the ways spiders are using the silk in order to avoid the animals to see before they come to the trap. If it's difficult for me to see the trap, how about the flying insect? You can see that the flying insects can easily get caught not seeing the spider web. So I will be heading now towards the Galago Pen area from the central part of the game reserve, where I am hoping to see something in this block where I am now, as the tracks for Tandi and Kalamba earlier on, they seemed heading towards this direction. Maybe we might be lucky. You see, the animals which is highly aggressive on foot is the hippopotamus. The hippopotamus can be potential dangerous on guided walks, because that one is very much territorial, and if you are between water and them is when you can find yourself in a very difficult situation. So these other animals such as lions, they are cats. Yes, they are very famous of predation, but on guided walks they are not that very much potential dangerous. They are not that, they are less aggressive, let me say that. Maybe I might find something interesting. Lynn, the fire ants, I haven't seen them here in this place where I am, which is the Juma Game Reserve, but I have to ask as well if the fire ants are occurring in this area. And maybe I hope they are occurring as well here, because there's quite a lot of different type of ants occurring in Juma Game Reserve. So I was very lucky earlier on to see a group of ants working together, trying to build a new nest, or maybe trying to improve their old nest. So let's go this way. I have got mother of all medicines now. So you can see this one is the mother of all medicines. Why is this? Why am I referring to the elephant droppings as mother of all medicines? Is because the elephants are not selective and they eat all the different kinds of medicinal plants. Something you can use in order to relieve when having problems, make use of the elephant droppings, things such when having the toothache problems. Most of the things, in order to cure the toothache pain, we've got to eat something. We've got to chew, we've got to absorb the water. But when it comes to elephant dungs, it's not about that. Elephant dungs, you come, you can just burn it and inhale the smoke. You can either inhale the smoke from the nose like, or else you can just inhale like that. That is when you can keep that smoke in the body and also keep it in the mouth for a while. Is going to relieve the toothache pain. So you can see that this is very much useful and is the one of the medicines I prefer the most, because it can just cure quite a lot of various different diseases. So now, while I'm still looking for more of the interesting stuff, let's go to Masai Mara, where my colleague Taylor is also looking for some of the interesting animals. So now we can enjoy a completely different environment from what we are seeing now. Here, we've got quite a lot of vegetation like this. Let's go to the open lands and see.
Yes, now, and I said to them, what were you staring at? Grass? And they said, yes. So what's happening here is that there is a male and a female lion, and they are apparently mating. But they're not mating right now. They are just resting. And I don't know how long they've been mating for, but yesterday we did see one lioness all by herself. And I said, maybe, just maybe, she was mating. But we don't really know. So we'll probably just sit here for a little bit, because we actually don't have too much more time out here on safari. We've got to start our drive up the long hill to get on home. So again, this could vary. I mean, we could wait 5 minutes and they could mate. We could end up waiting 10 minutes and then I'll have to go home. So I'm hoping that these lions are actually going to get up and do something at some point. Now, Jick, yes, these are the same species of lion, Panthera leo, that you get in South Africa too. It'll be nice if they stand up and they show you, but you must remember, depending on where the lions come from, they'll have, you know, slightly different looks. Now, I suspect that this is one of the Olololo lionesses and one of the triangle boys, or the Kichwa Tembo males, as they're also known as. And because this one's got such a dark mane, I'm going to go ahead and have a stab and say that this is perhaps half-tail, who's really just missing the tip of his tail. There were 4 triangle males, then they were down to 3, and now they've only been seeing 2. They've only been seeing half-tail and Fang, and Fang's got a fairly blonde mane in comparison. And actually, half-tail's my favourite of the triangle boys, I think I've told you before. But they're just relaxing, like I said, and sometimes, I mean, they mate and mate and mate. They can mate over 100 times a day, very easily. But I don't know for how long it's been, so it's very difficult to sort of gauge at what stage of the sort of mating situation that they're in at the moment. But it's quite spectacular to see them mating. If you actually go a little bit to the left, oh, there you go, you can see his tail every now and then. So that's why they call him half-tail. He's got 90% of it. I swear it's only just the black sort of tuft of hair that's missing. It's stumpy. It's not a snake. It's not a mamba coming out of the grass. It is indeed attached to that lion. Must be the flies, that are irritating him. I did see quite a few gathered on his back. Perhaps he's trying to use his tail as a fly swatter. Yes, I think that's it. Sure, Pearl. Hey, hitting me with the hard questions today. What happens if a lion doesn't want its cub? I don't think a lion would necessarily not want its cub, because that's what lions are around for. They eat, they sleep, they mate, they reproduce, they do all those things. Oh, hang on, we've got some action, everybody. Hold on to your seats. This could get quite exciting. He's rolling. Seems as though, sorry, we're just having some technical issues there, but Archie's got it all under control. So, you know, sometimes you can maybe see it with first mothers. Maybe they're a little bit unsure of what they're supposed to do, and they neglect their cubs. But typically, most mothers will try and raise their cubs successfully. However, it's a very tough life for young predators. Most of them not really making it even to adulthood, past the first 2 years of their life. So it's quite tough. I mean, I've never really personally seen it where a mother has intentionally tried to get rid of her cubs, like drop them off in a river or anything like that. I've never seen that. However, I have seen it before once where a lioness didn't come back frequently enough in the Eastern Cape, the southeast coast of South Africa, and she had 4 cubs, and then I think 3 of them ended up sadly dying of malnutrition, and only 1 survived, and it was very, very thin. I think I've told you the story before, quite some time ago. It's hard to keep track with all the things that I've told you over the years, but so that was very sad. But it was just she wasn't able to hunt anything, so she hadn't eaten. She wasn't producing any milk, so you know she could go back, and those cubs would try and suckle, but there'd just be nothing there. So it's tough for them. It really is. It really is indeed quite hard. It's actually starting to get a little bit chilly now. Oh, chum. At some point I'm going to have to layer up and put some more jerseys on. I always think I'm so brave just standing out here in shorts and a shirt. At the moment, I must tell you, no one is even watching the lions. Everyone is watching us, Archie and I. And they're waving, and they're smiling, and they're taking pictures, because the lions aren't doing anything. So they're also listening to what I'm going to say. Should I just throw out some random facts, some ones that aren't really real about the lions, and see what everybody does? I won't do that. But we will just sit here and watch the sleepy cats. Anyways, it seems as though you've also got a lion down in South Africa. Perhaps she's more active than this lot.
Well, no, they are not that active, Taylor. There are still 3 in a row lying there. The sun is slowly making its way to the horizon. I feel the temperature has changed somewhat, and it's going to be in the next few moments, I believe, that something is going to start happening with these lions, apart from one just putting its paw up on the tree like that. How pretty. Very cute. You almost want to go and scratch the belly, don't you? Apart from the fact that they smell quite bad, there's definitely parasites on their fur, and there's a good chance he'll get eaten if you do it. Hello, Brent. You want to know how powerful a lioness is? Well, sure. I'm trying to put it into perspective. They are immensely powerful. They weigh up to about 140 kilograms. So I'm trying to put that into pounds now. 200, almost 300 pounds. And they are way stronger than their weight would imply. So if you took a human being of that weight, can you imagine how strong they are? Now take that into a lion. You could probably double it and put claws and teeth in there as well. They are just muscle. They're just lean, mean fighting machines. Not that they do too much fighting, but lions are incredibly strong. They have the power to pull down very large animals twice their size, and have the potential to jump very high onto the back of giraffes' back, so up to 6 feet into the air onto the back of a giraffe, raking their claws into their back, and then with their weight and their power pulling down. So if a lion had to run and hit someone at full charge, it would completely probably break you in half. You'd have absolutely no chance. Well, it seems like the Masai Mara has got a little bit more action when it comes to lions. Ours popped its head up. It's back down again. Let's go see hers.
I've called you all back swiftly is because Halftail has indeed put his head up. This is so exciting. Look at him go. You chase those flies away, and I'm hoping that the next move from him just staring around and swatting the flies with his stubby tail will be to mate with a female. It normally happens fairly quickly. They don't seem to put much thought into it. You just go for it. But let's see if that's actually going to happen. He's an impressive lion. He's got a beautiful mane as well. He's one of my favorites out here. Although I haven't really spent too much time with them this time around. Back down again. There we go. Do a little scratch for us. He's doing a little bum wiggle, no? Yeah, I think that's what's bothering him. Look at all those flies sitting on him. They're now on his belly, on his paws. And these flies out here, they do bite. They are very unpleasant. Are you rubbing your belly? I don't really think he knows what he's going to do next. I think he's a bit uncomfortable currently. Chick, they need to mate so many times. Like I said, they can mate over 100 times in one day, and normally that goes on for about 3 to 5 days or so. That's why I was saying I'm uncertain as to whereabouts in their sort of mating cycle they are. Obviously, initially it's fairly frequent, and the reason why they mate for so many times is to make sure that the positive outcome is going to be that female takes the male and then of course produces cubs later on. That's the whole theme around it, but it doesn't always happen like that. Of course, we've seen this a number of times with Amber Eyes, a lioness from the Nkuhuma Pride that you're looking at with Steve. So we weren't too sure what's wrong with her, but now we know she definitely had cubs. Sadly, it seems as though she's lost them by the sounds of it. But probably after the first 2 or 3 days, you'll find that she's basically there would have been a successful fertilization. But just to make sure, they go on and on and on. But now it doesn't look like he's going to mate it at all, which is very sad. I honestly thought he was going to get up. But he has been in this area for a while, for like the last couple of days, so perhaps this is the end of it. Maybe by tomorrow morning they're going to go their separate ways. I keep missing them. That was the lioness's tail that you saw. And she doesn't look like she's really, encouraging him to mate with her. Obviously, she's also quite excited in the beginning. And it's sort of a mutual, yes, okay, you ready? I'm ready. Cool. And now they must be exhausted. They probably haven't eaten. Doesn't look like they've got any big bellies on them, so they're probably hungry and, used up all their stored energy, which is great. Safari Sally, you're spot on there in saying that the genetics that determines the dark mane of a lion, that yes, it is indeed passed on via genetics. So not all lions have blonde manes or dark manes. Out of the 4, well, I didn't see the 4, I only saw 3 of the triangle males. This male had the darkest, the other 2 were fairly blonde in comparison. So yeah, it definitely does get passed down. And then there's a theory that says that, of course, the lions with the beautiful big dark manes are the ones that the females prefer, because that just shows that you have good amount of testosterone in them, good genetics, all these wonderful things, which is quite cool. No, he's not getting up. Sadly, we're going to actually have to leave now, because we're getting to that time where the park is going to close and they're going to lock me out and they won't let me go home, and then Archie and I won't be able to have dinner, which will be so sad. And then we'll be hangry for tomorrow morning's safari. So we'll probably head on now and start our journey up the escarpment. But it was a wonderful afternoon, and the beginning of drive was fantastic with all the abundance of animals. No, hang on, wait, maybe? Just once, yes. Wait, we're not going anywhere. Let's first just have a quick look at this, and then we shall go. I suppose we invested some time here. Wake up. No? Okay, never mind. He was just cuddling closer. Like I said, it is a bit cold, and lions will also share body heat. So on that happy note, off you go back to South Africa, and Archie and I will see you tomorrow.
I am now just by the sunset. As you can see now there, that the sun is just about to disappear, which is now the beginning of the nocturnal life, back from the beginning of the guided walks where we were lucky with those lions further down that side. Maybe before we get back to the camp, we might be lucky and see some of the nocturnal animals. Also insects, some of them, they are nocturnal. We might see anything interesting, including some of the owls. So I'm going to pass by the pen, Galago pen, and see if maybe we can find something drinking there shortly. There's some birds calling. Not too sure if those birds are calling about our presence or the presence of a prey or a predator somewhere ahead of us. So it has been very much quiet at the moment from where we were trying to see if we can find Tandy and Kalamba. There was no luck at all as well. So but maybe our luck is much more on this side towards the water hole. I'm just trying to listen to what is happening in the bush at the moment. It's very much quiet. Tranchiri, the Juma Game Reserve, in terms of predators, we do have, but we can't say it is a lot. At this stage, I can say the prey is quite a lot of meat available than the predators. So they still have got quite a lot to eat, not too much predators around. We are just seeing them coming and going. Remember, the Juma Game Reserve is part of the Kruger National Park as the fences has been taken down. So animals, they have got much more chance to roam around in order to get hold of some food. That is why they don't stay at the specific areas. So now, I just want to try and check if I can find something very small. Let's see, maybe we might find any of the small interesting insects or something. So James has got one of the small mammals, say squirrel. Let's see the squirrel.
Well, in theory, we saw 2 small mammals there. They're the bottom there, going into that branch on the parallel there, zoom. There, you got him. Now, I've seen lots of nice squirrels actually on this tree, as opposed to lots of horrible squirrels. I mean, I find all squirrels quite nice actually. And there seem to be 3 or 4 nests there. They're out there now, Ferg. Out at the edge. That's where we saw them. That's their little home. They're just having a little last look at the world before they go to sleep this evening. They keep nice civilized hours, a little bit like the mongoose, and those are young ones. Isn't that sweet? Now we're just waiting for Hosanna to pitch up back at his pan, you see. That's why we're sitting around the main Juma pan at the moment. We're also observing Sydney and the bushwalk team approaching from where they apparently had Thandi and Tlalamba's tracks. Maybe they'll also pop out. Yes. Be quite good. The rarest owl I've seen in South Africa, Sally, is the Pell's fishing owl. Pell's fishing owl, very rare owl. It occurs here. A owl that, unsurprisingly given its name, is in fact an eater of fish. And it's a big brown owl, almost the size of a giant eagle owl. In fact, it may even be slightly bigger. And it sits in trees above water and then jumps down and grabs fish. Now, the fine bushwalk team is walking past. There they are. Let me see if Herbert's got his radio on finally. Herbert Causa, come in. No, he does not. Herbert, turn your radio on. Herbert, do you copy Herbert? No. There we go. There we go. No, you're not live, we are live. Herbert, where were the tracks of Thandi and Tlalamba? The northern side of Central to the east of Nyala Road, north-south junction. Copy that, going north. Coming from the east, from Gwaripan, towards the west. Okay, copy. And where did you leave them? We'll just do a quick turn around, you see where he left them. Copy that, confirm north of Central. Okay, there we go. So north of Central, in the drainage line, quite close to where we were looking earlier. Anyway, we'll go along there as the day starts to fade and see what we can find. Good. Let us bid the squirrels goodbye, the bushwalk team goodbye, and carry on. Oh, we've got a question on squirrels. Jack, there are many predators that will prey on squirrels here at Juma. They would include the following: giant eagle owl, spotted eagle owl, pearl-spotted owl, just about all the goshawks, and the accipiters, some of the eagles, I suppose, leopards, African wildcats, genets. Pretty much anything that eats meat and is bigger than a squirrel will eat a squirrel. They have a rough time. You don't really want to be that size and live out here. This one should be pretty cozy though and safe. And some snakes, of course, inside that branch. Alrighty, shall we continue? Good. Well, this is a very interesting question from Peter Viper. Are humans the only animals that kiss? Well, it depends really how you define kissing. Many animals exchange saliva from termites. all the way to the hyenas will do it. Dogs will do it. They lick each other's faces, kiss each other's faces. Are we the only ones that go? I think chimpanzees do the similar sort of thing, and I think it probably has a very interesting evolutionary function. And I suspect that evolutionary function has to do with pheromones and checking a potential partner for, or not necessarily a potential partner, even a friend, a colleague, a pack mate or something like that, for pheromones. And certainly that's how it is with the termites, but in our case, the contact of, I guess, basically the exchange of saliva, if you like, is it would be a way for your body to respond to the pheromones produced by another body. And that's not necessarily that you would respond favorably. You might respond negatively by thinking, oh, I didn't like that very much, and that would be your body telling you that perhaps that person wasn't a good biological fit. In other words, they were resistant to the same parasites as you were, for example, and therefore you should move on and find someone else that was not resistant to the same parasite, so that you could have offspring that was resistant to a different suite of parasites. But it must be remembered, of course, that in human culture, not everybody kisses. So, I mean, there's some human cultures in which kissing is frowned upon and not done at all. So it's by no means universal in humanity, and it is certainly very common in many other animals. There we go. Angie, Eskimos don't kiss. There are a lot of people out here, in fact, the rural areas of South Africa, that don't kiss at all. And in fact, I've had some rather amusing discussions with really rural bumpkins out here who will say to me, but, you know, what is this kissing thing that you people do? So, yeah, it's by no means universal. But I would say that it has a very similar function to the greeting ceremonies that certainly wild dogs engage in, lions, what other social creatures. I'm not sure about baboons. I'm not sure if they do that. I'm pretty sure that the gorillas and the chimpanzees do it. And you find lots of animals that will greet each other by either exchanging saliva or sort of touching their noses together. So I don't think that we're the only species in the world that kisses at all. We might be the only species that does it for fun. While we consider the enjoyment we get from kissing, let us go to another species that will start kissing, hopefully fairly soon.
Yes, well, the yawning has started. There's 3 yawns that have happened, 2 from Amber Eyes and 1 from the youngest female on the left there. But all that she did after yawning was take her foot off of the tree and put it back down again. Amber Eyes has started her ritualized grooming that happens at this time of day. The kissing that they do with the tongue, it's all about the tongue. I think we could possibly say that all lions are French when it comes to kissing, aren't they? You can actually see how warm the tongue is there when it comes out of the body, and it leaves a bit of a warm patch normally when it comes out. MG, and this is a question I've had before, and the sort of answer that comes about why a lion's gums are black is to do with the fact that they do a lot of biting and chewing and clawing around bones and other lions, and so it's actually melanin inside of the lips that keeps the mouth a little bit protected. Melanin is one of those substances in nature that makes things strong. All sort of birds with black in their feathers, it's all melanin to keep the feathers very strong, and we see it in giraffe mouths as well. Keep them nice and sort of against all of the pain that happens. Lots of claws, lots of feeding, lots of bones. That is the overall thought anyway. Oh, she's got her head up. Here comes a big yawn. Wow. Look at those teeth. Enormous teeth. Enormous yawn that was. So once one starts licking, they can all kind of hear it. They all start waking up. And they get prepared to get on the road trip, per se. Start moving. That was nice, wasn't it? And the third one hasn't budged. She hasn't moved a muscle. She looks a bit colder than the other two because she's not moving. Yes, Teresa. The tongue cleans all sorts of things off of their fur, and the blood is just one of the things that they get off. They get very, very dirty, these cats. The saliva is also very, very good for wounds and for healing themselves. So not only do they have the melanin in the mouth to sort of strengthen it, but any scars and scratches they might get there as well, the saliva works very well to sort of protect that against any injury, and heals it, should I say. So they're constantly cleaning themselves, and they're licking and licking in the moisture. Not only are they rubbing their face, but they're putting saliva in their face to clean and to sort of desanitize any of the injuries they might have incurred. As you can see, there's a couple old scratches on her nose there. And saliva is a very, very, very good coagulant, assisting in the sort of stopping the bleeding. What do we do when we stub our toe, not our toe, but we hurt our finger? We pop it in the mouth to try and sort of stop the bleeding, and it works quite well. They also need to clean their feet to try and get whatever mess there might be out of those sort of claw areas. And what better way to do it than with a belt sander in the form of a tongue. There we go, going right into the claw now. And after she's done a lot of that licking, she'll probably scratch them up against the tree just to sharpen them, get any sort of exfoliation needed. There we go, there are the amber eyes we're talking about. There's still only the two lionesses grooming. The third one, I'm sure, will follow suit at some point. But this is the nightly ritual that lions go through. They always want to look pretty when they go out, so they clean themselves up. And it's really just facilitating, preparing themselves, cleaning themselves for whatever might happen in the evening. I remember I had two domestic cats, and they used to groom each other quite deliberately, and it's almost become sort of robotic for them. You can't stop them doing it. You know, they just get into the mode, and it just happens automatically. There's no stopping it. Lions don't seem to have as robotic sort of sense of it. There seems to be a bit of a process behind cleaning each of the legs, each of the claws, the whole of the face. Pauline, I think I heard you say do they have dental problems? Well, if a tooth breaks, there's nothing they can do about that. And you do see on a couple of the lioness we have around. I mean, even Tundi she's got a bit of a chipped tooth. What it does is it just affects their ability to bite down and to maybe deliver the death blow. But they will invariably, through age, just like us, teeth will wear down. They don't get any new teeth after their milk teeth have been replaced. And that is what they'll have to deal with. But lions don't often get older than 15. So if you can imagine the dental problems that we have up until the age of 15, we have a few, but not too many. And it's our long age, or the long time we live, where we all start getting real issues with the teeth. But lions, oh, there we go. There's another yawn. Very strong, powerful teeth. And yeah, obviously they're very important for their survival. But if anything happens to their teeth, there's nothing really they can do about it. And you can actually often see the age of certain animals by the teeth wear, by a broken canine, for example. I've no doubt there's a bit of pain that follows something like that, but they seem to get over it quite quickly. How marvellous was that, Darby? Well, the two ladies are nearly primed and ready to go out. There's always the third one that hasn't quite gotten out of the shower, isn't quite ready for the parade. What will often happen now is one or two more yawns. One of the individuals will get up and will pick a specific direction, no doubt moving off 5 to 10 meters before having a customary toilet break. And then one by one, the other two will follow. What direction that's going to be this evening is very hard to say. There's no wind at all. Not a breath of air. Not a breath of movement, Darby? I don't know where they're going to go. Could be in any direction. I hope they go that way. Well, not right now. I hope they come along this way a little bit and then go that way, because have you seen what's in front of us there? There is an impenetrable tambuti thicket down here, but if we can get past it, it's doable. The reason I say I hope they go that way is because that goes further west back into Djuma. Okay, well, as we stand by and wait for these lions to get moving, let's go back up to James and see what he's up to.
I am wafting my spotlight around, hoping to find a kitty cat in the growing darkness. It's pointless wafting it around at the moment, it's not dark enough. So I'll leave it there, so that my aging left shoulder doesn't have to work too hard this evening. We are driving around about where Herbert said he thought he had the tracks of Tandy and Tlelamba. We didn't think he had the tracks, he definitely did have the tracks. Emma, nowhere near northwest of Twin Dams, so I'm not sure where that information came from. Emma was given the information that they were northwest of Twin Dams, but they are many, many, many miles from there. From Google Maps, which is clearly a work of fiction. Here are some impala. Let us observe them. No, don't run away. Stop it. Stand still. Thank you. Well done. Good. There they go, disappearing off into the darkness naturally. We've had one of those days, really, Fergus and I. Everything we've got anywhere near has turned to show us its bottom and walked off into the bushes. I suppose we'll get over it eventually. Oh, a fork-tailed drongo. Monique, Djuma apparently means the roar of a lion, so it goes Djuma, 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 Djum, 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 Djum. Emma says I sound like I'm in a lot of pain. I am. Anyway, that's what Djuma means, Monique, I'm told. It doesn't actually have a translation, if you know what I mean. So I suspect that you could probably say Ngalale ya Djuma. The lion is roaring. The lion over there is roaring. Tracks of zebra. No good, we've seen zebra today. Twice we've seen them. We shall try and find them again. No, we won't. We'll try and find a leopard now. There must be a leopard here. There must be at least 3 leopards here. Hosana is around. Tandy and Tlelamba are around. And Magic Dragon Wizard, no. Hukumuri has not been seen for a little while. We found him on Friday afternoon last week. Well, afternoon, I say midday, really. We had his tracks going out of Djuma, and the trackers caught up with him just as he crossed the boundary into Arathusa, which is the reserve to the west of us. So he did make a brief foray here, But I think he's occupied further west and possibly not in need of any more land this way, and also almost certainly hearing the rasping calls of the regularly calling Tingana. So I don't think that he's necessarily going to spend a great deal more time here until Tingana is a lot less obvious than he is now. I think Tingana himself is quite possibly on a kill north of Gallagher Camp, having seen his fat belly last night and having not found any of his tracks today. So that's good for him. I hope he's eating and looking sort of to go marking his territory, to reassert himself. We're going to go one last time around sort of towards Buffelshoek Waterhole and see if we don't come up with something that way, because that's where the tracks apparently were heading. We shall now start wafting the spotlight as the darkness starts to gather all around us. Anyway, we will also, of course, look for other nocturnal creatures. This is the point at which one gives a list of nocturnal creatures, because one has run out of things to say. There are some antelope. Good grief, Fergus. Let's go into infrared, I dare you. You're also already in infrared. Wow. A nyala. What was that? Oh, thank you. Oh, she's just saying thank you. Oh, how exciting. My pleasure. One does what one can, Emma. There are, in fact, some other nyala with this nyala, but they are over the back of a tree, and so rather difficult to see. See what I did there, Fergus? Mm-hmm. Very nice. Yes, it is. It must a little bit like hanging out with Dr. Zeus, I'm sure. Not quite. Right, I believe that Steve's lions are doing precisely what that nyala was doing, cleaning itself.
Yes, well, the third one put its head up and started cleaning itself, and then Amber Eyes, who I think got a bit impatient with the other two, decided to put her head back down. So we are in infrared. You might notice it's all gone a little bit black and white. We're in infrared as we start watching these lions, and who knows, I'm sure it's about time for them to get up. First need to just do a little bit of a pedicure on your back toenails, as you know, ladies. And toenails are the most important, especially if you want to wear your fancy shoes out that evening. King maraschino lions have been known to eat other lions. They don't go and look for lion carcasses, but sometimes lions will kill other lions, and they're just out of interest or out of hunger or out of the moment end up eating that lion. I've never seen lions kill a lion and then eat it. I've seen lions kill a lion and then hyena come in and eat it. I've seen male lion eating cubs. Maybe just because he killed it, and then he decided, well, let me eat this one. It's very hard to watch, I must say. It's very, very hard to watch. But then, end of the day, we watch lions eat all sorts of meat, and it doesn't really touch us too much. But as soon as we see them eating one of their own kind, we think it's really strange and really weird. End of the day, it is just energy consumption. And sometimes you'll see lionesses or leopard females, if their cubs die, sometimes they might actually consume them. I've only seen documentaries about that before. It makes sense if you think about it from an energy perspective. Okay, well, up gets Amber Eyes for a beautiful stretch. I wonder if we could go to the infrared for a moment. Up to the thermal camera, please, Em. Bobby, you want to know if lions tiptoe? No, they don't really. Well, essentially they are tiptoeing all the time because their track, we call it digitigrade. There you can see the warm patch Amber Eyes left behind. And you can see the pinkness of the other lions, a little bit cooler on the outside. That's why it's time for them to start moving, time for them to start warming up. But the reason why I say they don't tiptoe, or they actually do tiptoe, is that they're on their toes all the time. lions' tracks are called digitigrade, which means they're on their fingers. The dew claw is in fact the thumb, and when you see the dew claw, it actually rides high up on what we assume is the lion's wrist. It's not actually the wrist. It is the elbow is the wrist of a lion, but the wrist in the elbow, the wrist in the hand is actually where the front feet are moving. So very, very interesting. And the dew claw is further up. So they are on their tiptoes all the time. Now, I might have got that wrong with the elbow, but there's 2 joints in the paw, 2 above the fingers or the toes, and 1 just above the dew claw. So they can actually wrap that dew claw around. And you often see when lions grab something, they're able to sort of turn that entire arm around in a hook onto the animal, and the claws in front that come out of the front toes, they tear down, and the dew claw comes from behind and forming a very nice vice grip. So what are these 2 looking at? Amber Eyes has moved off down into the drainage there. These 2 are maybe trying to see which direction she's going. Are we going to follow? Okay, well, we're back into the infrared, and we're probably going to move in a few minutes to try and get around and see where she's gotten to, because no doubt these 2 are going to follow. Is she coming back? She's going across the left. You can't really see it. She's just disappearing down into the drainage. I think we're going to need to be moving in a moment. Oh, she's contact calling. It's a very soft call. It's more of a contact call than an actual roar. No doubt she hopes the rest of the pride will find them soon. They do miss each other. I love watching lions reunite. Well, there goes the second one. She gets up and is following. I think the third one will get up in a moment. There she's moving through, very hard to see on the infrared. We do have the ability to have a double screen here, so I can still follow them on the thermal at the same time as they move through the thicket. And we're going to go around and see if we can relocate on them on the other side. But while we do that, let's go back over to James.
I feel it's a little unfair that the lions finally have decided to move and then entirely given Steve the slip. I think that's very unfair of them. I'm sure he will find them on the other side of whatever bush they've gone to or under. We are continuing our fruitless search for pretty much anything this afternoon. It's been one of those days for us, as I said. We found a great deal other than squirrels. A half view of a waterbuck. Started off well enough with a kudu, that was quite nice. Otherwise it's been pretty much downhill from there. Maybe we will have a last-minute leopard that pops out on the road. Oh, Sally, it really depends on the nightjar. I can play you a couple if you like. I can sing you the, I can sing you the call of the fiery neck nightjar. It goes like this. Good Lord, deliver us! Good Lord, deliver us! Good Lord, deliver us! Good Lord, deliver us! That's what the fiery neck nightjar sounds like. Then let me do the others for you. We get 4 species here, one of which is silent, that is the European. We get the pennant winged, which sounds like this. So that's not a great sort of loud call. Then we get the fiery necked, which is Good Lord deliver us. Yes, please sing now. Good Lord deliver us. See, that's the fiery necked. Don't give me nonsense. Just be quiet there, Fergus. Then we have the square-tailed, which used to be the Mozambique, and this one sounds like a machine gun. Those are the only ones you're likely to hear. Very good. On we go. So lots of different nightjar calls, and of course there are about 8 or 9 species of nightjar, only 4 of which we would likely see here, and they're almost impossible to identify, or to identify one from the other, as they look so very similar. Fiery-necked is the most common. Mozambique or square-tailed, not uncommon in the summertime. European we do find, they're a little bit bigger than the others. And the pennant-winged, of course, has pennants on its wings, the male, when it flies. Tristan's definitely seen one of those around here. I'm not sure if I have. In fact, I'm pretty sure I haven't. So that would be nice to see, a pennant-winged nightjar. The only problem with the infrared now is that you can't see the very nice pink sky that I can see. Oh, God. Well, it's nice to know that that piece of... Oh, there's pink sky. There you are. Let's go across to Steve, who's now got a pink picture.
Yes, well, I think we're on the thermal. There we got one line, and then there's another one. They're just moving off through the drainage line on the other side. Oh, exactly where I didn't want them to go. There we go, sorry. There we go, look how beautiful she is. On the infrared I can't see her at all, but on the thermal she comes out quite nicely. But we're going to see if we can get through that side and see if we can keep up with them. It's going to be a tricky business though, getting through here. Hold on, Davisito. Okay, so we're on the normal camera again. See if we can get up this other side. It's a little bit of a difficult area to be in, but I think we'll manage to get out. Once we're out on the other side though, who knows? Whoopsie, it is rocks. Rocks, rocks, rocks. Trying to spotlight at the same time as proper off-road driving is definitely something that requires a lot of practice. I can tell you that. Okay, so there's a nice loop road here. Here they are, having their characteristic toilet break, as they do. There's at least 2 of them. There's one having a toilet stop, and the other one waiting. Maybe waiting for the third one to materialize. So we're going to cut to the thermal camera, the flare. And we can see her moving now. Look how she leaves warm spots on the ground from the feet. Well, when she stood for a while, it was a little bit longer. They're licking her lips. Look at the color of that. Isn't that gorgeous? It's getting quite dark, folks. And to be able to see them with this imagery is fantastic. It really, really is very special. And the third one is going to be joining soon, but we'll stay with these 2. They are heading in a sort of northerly direction from where we had them. Hopefully they stick to the road for a little bit. Can still see the trees are a little bit warm from the sun. She's looking at her sister that is materializing right behind us now. And we're turning all the way around, so sorry if anything pops up into the view. Isn't that a beautiful picture? 2 lions, the third one is about to enter the frame. It's about to enter the frame. If you give her one more moment, there she is. Isn't that gorgeous? Well, as these lions slowly move in sort of a northeasterly direction, we're going to see if we can stay with them for a little while longer. What an interesting afternoon it's been. Reports of lions coming in. Okay, well, we're going to have to turn around if we want to see them again. Let's just turn. Okay, well, let me just turn here. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's been awesome having you out with us this afternoon. The Uncle Huma's moving towards the east. Have a beautiful evening. We will see you nice and early in the morning tomorrow. Have a beautiful evening.